Hey y'all, welcome back to Dots and Beyond. My name is Beth. Today we are going to set up my professional work journal for March of 2023. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is another one of those videos that I leave to the very end of the month because I really just need, as much space as I can to do my normal work duties. This journal is much more minimal, much more pared back, and this month I am going to do one thing a little bit differently and actually adopt something that writer Carol put up in a recent video about a year at a glance or a year overview. I'm going to use that for what I call my big list and see if that helps me out, because I think it's going to, and just because my big list changes month to month, and we'll get there. We'll talk about it. And again, this is one of those things that I don't go back and do an after the pen because there's too much confidential information for me to blur out. It wouldn't be any of use to you. So I try to explain things as I go along setting this up. So to do this, I do have these month date stickers that I picked up off of Amazon. I originally saw them on Stationery Pal and then they sold out, and I managed to get some off Amazon for 2023. And I love these because it just keeps at least one thing on every page consistent when my handwriting starts getting all over the place. These are the stickers that came with the Bullet Journal Edition 2. And then, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, my pseudo theme has been clocks in time. I just printed this off of Canva. This is matte photo paper, and we're just gonna stick it in right there. And that is where we are going to get started. So I do need, this is not sticker paper, so I do need my Tombow tape runner so that we can stick this in. If I turn it the right direction. And I think, when I did this in February, I don't even think I got it straight on the page. And that's just kind of how my work journal rolls, It's the one decorative element that I have. The rest of it is all functional. And look, I got tape runner right there. And we're gonna rub, because eventually that will pill and pop up and keep the pages from sticking together. You just got to give it a good rubbing and it'll eventually come up. But we are just gonna slap that right in there and then use our March sticker. There were 2 of these on every sheet. So the first one I have set up on my future log at the beginning of my journal, and then I kept the other ones for here. And I think this time I'm going to put this up there. And then I do a linear calendar so that I can just see things at a glance. I have events on one side, meetings on the other, and then I keep a mini calendar. To do this setup, we're just going to use my everyday pen, which is the Sharpie S Gel. I've got my son Kenny addicted to these now, so we buy them in large quantities so that we have them floating all over the place, because even though I've added a pen loop to this journal, and get these off Amazon as well, because I just have to have a pen loop or I will always lose my pen. Even though we have that, I have these. They're all over the house, and I think I have 3 or 4 at work. And I really, when you latch on to a pen, I know you stationary people understand this, and you go somewhere and they try to hand you something to sign a document or a sign-in sheet or fill out a form, and I'm like, oh no, I'll use my pen, thank you. I've become one of those people, and it seems mildly obnoxious, but it has a great weight. Like, it's a heavy pen, and it writes beautifully. It might write a little thick for some people, but it's definitely become my favorite. By extension, it's become my son Kenny's favorite. And he's a barista at Starbucks, and he's always got pens in his pocket. Man, these are his favorite now too. All right, so there is our mini calendar. I am gonna break out the ruler. I don't know, I just can't get to the point where I can do these work setups without a ruler. And yet, the one thing that this pen will do is get a little wet and juicy around a ruler line. Now, with 31 days in the month, I don't have an extra day for me to write like meetings over here. Like, I'm gonna write events. I don't care. I know what goes on either side. I could not even write events here. This is really more for y'all. I know what goes on the left and what goes on the right. I have been doing that through just before COVID, during COVID, after I came back from being furloughed, through 2 COVID job changes now. I mean, y'all, the event industry has just not been kind to us. All right, the other thing we've learned is that I am terrible at putting down these stickers, but we're gonna give it a go again. And I know I mentioned this last time. Somewhere in one of my drawers off to my right, I have sticker tweezers. And I never. But I am going to do this. Turn this just a little bit. Make it a little bit easier for me to run that down to there. And then just trim that off right there. And I keep these little pieces because I know we're gonna get to December or somewhere, and I'm gonna have to like piece together a week. You just wait. It's gonna happen. All right, so there's the monthly stickers. Here are our days of 1 through 31. Writer goes into, you know, the meaning behind the little lightning bolt stickers and the little round ones. I haven't really found a whole lot of uses for them yet. For me, I don't know. I might one day find something that I want to use them for. All right. So there is my calendar. And March, I have a very large meeting here. I have a big event here. And then of course just standing meetings and that sort of thing that get thrown over here when I talked about. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the big list. And not the newest video on the Bullet Journal website or Bullet Journal YouTube, but the one before that. Ryder showed this layout and I thought, oh, that's going to be great for me. So back here somewhere, I started an actual timeline. That's what it looks like, January through December, where I was trying to categorize all of my events. That's not working for me. It's too complicated. It's just, you know, best intentions, not loving that page. It won't be there when I run out of pages in this one and set up a new one. It was a great idea, but this I can do. And this I can do monthly because so much of what gets put on my calendar gets moved. So in the organization that I work for, I am in charge of employee appreciation events, and I typically set those dates. I know when those are, and I stick to my dates. We have 4 major employee appreciation events, I guess, annually. But I'm also responsible for building openings, groundbreakings, ribbon cutting ceremonies, that sort of thing for our organization. And we have a big year. We have multiple facilities that are in the process of being constructed. Some of these started, you know, before COVID and have had to deal with delays in construction equipment and all of that sort of a thing. And all of this stuff is just, it's converging on me, and it's converging on me at a rapid clip. Not that I can't handle multiple events in a week or multiple events in a month, but they are all over the state, and I just need to be able to glance at it. And we're going to call this the big list. And in my February setup, I insinuated that the big list might become a 2-page spread. I did not know that Ryder and the Bullet Journal crew were going to hand me what I needed on a silver platter and go, here, look at this. But they did. So what the big list is a list for me, and it's a very high level list. It's not a to-do list. It is the list of every event, project, or program that I am in charge of. And look, I'm making a mess of myself. And approximately when that event falls. So, or the deadline for that project is, or the recurring dates for our program. Like I run our MVP program, so I give away an MVP award every month. So that's something that falls monthly. So while this is intended, I believe, to be set up at the beginning of a year so that as things come along, you can add them, it's always going to have a full year for me. So while January and February are now over, I just wrapped up a very large event for February that we do annually. It is in conjunction with another organization that needs to help me set the date. So if I can go ahead and get that date, I can go ahead and get it on this big list. And I know in my head, and if I need to, put a color line or something, I can do that. We're going to try this for the first time this month. I know that I'm in March now. So anything I put in January or February is going to indicate a date for 2024. I'm not going to retroactively put what we've already done this year. I have actually set up one of these in the back of the journal so that when we go back and I have my review at the end of the year, I can go straight to that page and go, these are all the things that I did. And it's just a high level view and it's a quick review and I just know that it was there. So the first thing is to set up this spread. The Bullet Journal Edition 2 has all the little dots you need to separate this page without having to count or think. And I've set mine up exactly like Ryder did. Quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. I think in a linear fashion this works for me. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. The other thing he did was put on essentially dividing lines for weeks. Now the weeks are not going to fall perfectly. There's not going to be 52 or even 53 of them. They're a little different on how they fall. I'm going to make some of those lines, but I don't want them to be black. So I am going to use a very light gray pigment micron to also draw in those lines. And I have them on here in pencil. You can probably see them, and this won't be much darker than pencil, but it'll make it a whole lot easier for me to write over top of it, which is always an issue for me. Every 3 dots down is a week marker. And I think Ryder actually, like he stopped the line here and then restarted it. I'm not going to do that for the sake of time and efficiency. I am just gonna get these on here. So you've got basically week 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just an eyeball. I'm not going to even write week numbers on it because it's not really going to coordinate with my calendar perfectly on how I count my weeks. And my weeks always start on a Monday. I am not a Sunday start person. Doesn't make sense to me for weeks to start on a Sunday in any way, shape, or form. I'm glad that those of you who have a Sunday start, my ex-husband has a Sunday start. I helped him set up his first bullet journal. He wanted to know how it worked, had some new responsibilities. So we went through and set that up for him in December or just after the beginning of the year, somewhere there. I need to talk to him, find out if it's working for him. I actually sent him home with the bullet journal book. And yes, I'm good enough friends with my ex-husband that I can help him set up his bullet journal. We just can't be married to one another. Okay, so we're gonna get these weeks in here. What I haven't decided is if I'm going to try to color code things. And I'll have to tackle that when I actually fill this in, because I don't know. Again, I've got events, projects, because I'm also a project manager for some things, as well as monthly programs that I need to run. I'm the chair of several committees, so there's committee management in there. Let me get this back up into the screen. I keep pulling it down when I'm rulering. So basically 4 weeks in each month. I know that's not how that falls out, but that's a light enough of a gray line that I can definitely write over it. And that way I can drop in like January was a little quiet. It was a prep month, but like I had an event on January 31st. I had an event on February 9th. I had a large event on February 16th that took several days of prep work in advance. So the 14th and the 15th, my time was pretty much monopolized that way. And then I have a lot of things that come along that are contingent on, like I said, construction. You can't have a grand opening or a ribbon cutting ceremony unless construction is ready to go. You can't have a groundbreaking ceremony unless the funding and everything is ready for that groundbreaking ceremony. So very often I'm given a date of, say, May 15th is a target date. And I'm probably going to start using like a friction erasable pen just on this page. Carry that one along with me as well. Maybe that's where I'll start color coding. I can get multiple colored frictions so that I can do events in one color, programs in another color, projects in another color, and put different deadlines on there. But this would just give me that grand overview mainly for my events, but I do need to throw in some other things in there as well so that I constantly have a 12-month view of what is coming, and I can just move it month to month. And I don't mind rewriting that because it just hammers into my head that, this thing is going to be in this month. Or, I also have, and we're going to set it up on this next page, I have a dashboard where I have an additions, and it's things that I need to add to the big list. And one of those things I was prepared to add to my big list for March, and I found out on Friday that it's not going to be until mid to late April. That's how quickly things move and shuffle. It's very, normally in the event industry, at least 3 to 6 months out, we like to have our dates nailed down so that we can tell our vendors when everything is going to happen. Not in my world. It is not that way in my world these days. And then sometimes we have big detours. I had to plan a memorial, and that's one of the things that fell in February. Well, obviously we did not know I was going to need to plan a memorial, but I did. And so hopefully this works for me. I actually commented on the bullet journal video and just said, yo, as an event planner, this is a great high level, and I'm hoping it works. So stay tuned for our April setup and find out if I do this again, if it's something that I like. But I'm already leaning toward it. I'm excited about it. So I think it's actually going to work really great for me. I don't want to stick Post-it notes on here when things are temporary. I would rather erase it or just go ahead and put the new date next to it. And then when I set up for April, set up a fresh clean one and go, this thing is now in this month instead of that month. It's just, like I said, it's just how it is. It's constantly fluid. I actually have an Excel Gantt chart for this as well, but sometimes I just need to see it on paper instead of getting out the computer. Sometimes I just need to look at it and be like, okay, that's what my year looks like. Okay, let's do dashboard. So since I moved my big list to its own spread, I'm giving myself a notes page here. That's all that's going to be. That's just a brain dump page. That's for me to drop anything during the month that I just need to turn quickly to and drop things there. And hopefully I can do that. I've lost my ruler in all of my rambling. This is my priorities page, and this is going to be set up exactly like we set it up for February, with the exception of the fact that I need to fit in 5 weeks. So my little weekly sections over here are 7 deep instead of, I think it was 9. It's fine. The bottom one is 8. The math doesn't work out perfect, but that is a-okay. That is just, and even this, some of these aren't even on the right line, and they're crooked, but that is okay. So priorities. The one thing I did do is I'm doing this sideways writing all the same way. So in February, I wrote this direction for these headers, and then I turned the book and wrote this direction for, and I'm not going to do that. These are all, they're all going to go the same way. So up here at the top, I have week 10, which is the week that we are in. So it's February 27th, which is today, because again, I'm filming on the day that I need this. So February 27th to March 5th, week 11, March 6th through 12th, 12, March 13th through 19, week 13, March 20 to 26, and week 14, March 27 to April 2nd. And this is the one that has an extra column here at the bottom. So here we have deadlines. Sometimes my deadlines are fluid, like we just talked about with my events. Detours, I've spoken about this before, but this is where I drop things that were completely off my radar, like that memorial service that encompassed a huge chunk of my time and may have put me behind on some things, or at least delayed some other things in my planning process. If you ever need to justify that you started off a month completely on plan and then something came along and derailed your timelines, your project planning, lucky for me, the place that I work does have a focus on work-life balance. So that's why I moved there. So that's one of those things that I can be like, yo, this was a detour. And I still went home at 5 o'clock on every day. Like, I didn't stay over to get this done and then catch up on other things. Like, we gotta make it work in here, and I'm good at what I do, and I have a great sense of time and how long it takes me to do different things. And I've pretty much, I've been doing events for 25 years now, I guess. I know how long it takes me to do certain things. Sometimes I do have to rely on other people though, and that's when things get hairy. And then we are going to set up for this week. Like I said, I am in this week. Today is February 27th through March 5th. My Alistair Method to-do list, which was working for me for about half the month. And then one of the things that I did in February was start giving myself a whole page for every day, which I really, really like, because I can come back and add to it at the end of the day if I feel like I need to elaborate on a thought or something. But I started rapid logging more than I was using my Alistair Method. Oh, I need my big ruler. Hang on. And that might be the case. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up for the week. By the time we get to the end of March, I might not need this page. I might just be rapid logging. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. So again, to my Alistair Method task list, I very rarely work Saturday, Sunday. So unless I'm going to be working them, I don't put them on here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Make a little note of the day that I intend to do a task. If I get it done on that day, just go ahead and bring it over, cross it off. If I don't, I'll turn it into a little forward arrow and put it on either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and move it to whatever day I intend to do it. And then half of the things that I do, I end up waiting on someone. So that's why I added this little waiting on column, which is not traditional in the bullet journal method, but man, it works for me. Let me just tell you. I used to have a separate waiting on list. So I was writing things twice, and I didn't really need to do that. If I just needed to put something and then that I had emailed somebody a review of a design and I'm waiting on the designer to get back to me, I can just put the designer's name. And then when it comes in, I can check it off and put my to-do list, what the next step in my process is with that thing that's been returned to me. It's a great, great way to work. And then I already have, on the other side of here are days 27 and 28 for February. So I'm going to start here with March 1st. And sometimes it gives me a little bit of back and forth, but it does definitively keep my months separate, which is not something I do in my personal bullet journal, but in my work journal, it definitely works for me. And I have learned that I am just as terrible at sticking on these stickers as I am any other sticker. They do add structure and consistency that I'm just not that neat about something sometimes. So it's the one thing that kind of gives me that structure. And what I will do here is I will write my events here at the top, even if they're just meetings. I keep time in military time. So what is March 1st? March 1st is Wednesday. So again, I do employee appreciation events. So I'll have an employee appreciation committee meeting on Wednesday. So I'll draw a little circle for an event. I'll write 1300, which is 1 p.m. an employee appreciation meeting, so that I have my calendar for the day up here, or at least a high level. And then I've got all of this space to take notes from phone calls, notes from meetings, so everything is all in one space. I typically only need one page. There are times with very large events, if I'm having a very large meeting, that I might roll over to the next one, but then I'll just start the second on this day. But I do like that I am reserving an entire page for every day, Monday through Friday, not Saturday and Sunday. It does mean I'm going to go through my journal a little more quickly, so I'll have to go ahead and pick myself up another bullet journal edition too, so that I am ready to go. And I do like black. I don't know if I'll ever buy the pink or the blue. I like just having the journal that I have. The only thing that's made it a little difficult is that I now have some kind of a hybrid schedule. So unless I have events going on, I do work from home 2 days a week. So it's not like I can just archive these and keep them in my office if I need to check back and reference something for one, because I can't carry them all with me. Like right now I have the one from the end of last year, and I have this one from the beginning of this year that I carry with me. But if I do need to reference, you know, if I get to the end of March and I have no more pages and I need to reference the one from the end of last year, am I always going to be carrying it with me? Don't know the answer to that, which is why I set up event pages in the beginning of my journal for each major event so that I can transfer as many of those very vital notes to those event project pages. So that is my very talkative, very chatty, very fast chatty setup for the month of March. Again, the new addition to this setup is how I'm going to structure this big list so that I always have a yearly calendar starting in March and running all the way through February of 2023 with me, so that I always have an annual overview of exactly where everything falls at that moment, because it has probably changed from the month before until it gets set in stone. There is my March setup. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's radically different than my artsy bullet journal setups, but I still love those too. Definitely use those in my personal life, and jumped right into this week with my March roller skating setup. Totally loving it. It's kitschy, it's silly, it's 80s, but I love having that for my personal life. And then this much more stripped back one for my work life. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one.